Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I am the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Dallas in the house, everybody. He has not left the building yet. He is back with us, and it's been postponed, him starting his job. So I'm sure he'll go a little bit into that with us today, but he is with us today, and he'll be with us in 2 weeks, unless I am told differently. So if you have a question for Dallas, or you can't speak, you would like to write your question on the wall, you can do that under his picture. There's a picture of Dallas on the wall, so please write your question underneath the comments, or you can raise your hand here and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast and you can ask Dallas your question. Also, to everybody, please be careful who you listen to, who you follow, what you're putting into your mind. It's a thing. I say it for a reason, because it's becoming more obvious now than ever of who to follow and not to follow. The more they speak, the more they expose themselves. So it's almost getting to a point where it's comical, because every positive thing that is happening, just like watch, what they do with this positive thing that happened with Trump and the Prince of Saudi Arabia. I think that's who it was, the Sheikh. Bin Solomon, I think is what his name is. And if I'm incorrect, please, let me know, everybody. But anyway, a great meeting they had today. Trump convinced them into turning that $6 billion into $1 trillion. So that's huge. But you'll see probably the lamestream and the fake sters, podcasters, influencers, whatever you want to call them out there, try to spin the narrative in a negative way. So please, everybody, be careful of that. Really watch for that. And if you're just really that confused on who to follow, first and foremost, follow God, obviously, and then follow Trump, follow Rapid Response 47 over there, because again, they're telling you without directly telling you. But I'm telling you, what I'm seeing is a lot of these fakesters are exposing themselves. Here's some things to look for. The consistency. Consistency is key in their messaging. If they're messaging, I'll use Derek Johnson as a prime example. His messaging has been the same all the time. He's never flip-flop. He's never done anything. It's been the same message. If their message is consistent, that's a great thing. The flip-floppers going to the next narrative being spun and hopping on that bandwagon, watch for that, right? Or if they're switching from, oh, I'm going to support this person and now I don't support this person, so I'm going to go over here because I think their narrative is better. That's another thing to watch for, everybody. These people are going to start falling big time by the waysides. There's only going to be a few people standing. So hang tight, everybody. We're coming into the bumpiness, I do believe, here, through the holiday season and into the beginning of the year. Who knows what that will bring? I don't know. Stay out of the noise, stay out of the fear. I'm not about that. There's a lot of that going on out there as well. So please, everybody, just if you're not comfortable going somewhere, putting yourself in a situation, then don't do it. Head on a swivel and just stay vigilant. That's all I can say. I am pretty at peace and cozy with everything that's going on. It's great to see it all finally come together, everybody. Much of what many of us have been talking about for so long, right? So hang in there, buddy. You're on the right side. If you're here, you're doing good. You're getting good information. If you're following, if you're continuing following Derek, Dallas, PPN, you're doing good. So hang in there, buddy. Stay out of the noise. Also, to everybody, if you come into the podcast late or you want to listen to the replay or just share it with a friend or a family member, please follow the podcast on the podcast host or social medias, which are Jenny JERREAD. Oh, excuse me. Podcast hosts are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias: Jenny JERREAD Facebook, at Jenny_JERREAD X, at JJREAD Rumble, at JJREAD Instagram, at JJREAD True Social, The Revival of America right here on Telegram, The Revival of America over on YouTube. We are being listened to, everybody, in over 100 countries, so that should tell you kind of, some positive stuff. We're giving positive information. So definitely check that out. Also, also check out the website, therevivalofamerica.com. Fill out the information for the newsletter. It is free. You'll get the latest updates on the podcast, as well as the weekly show lineups with the guests, times, and where they're going to be at. There is a page for Field and his books. For many of you that have asked about Field's books, there is a page over there about that. You can purchase them, and the payments are going through Venmo and Zelle. So you can do that as well. It's individual books or a set of books. And then also there's a page for Rick Anson from Brain IQ Health. We just had a show with him, John Baxter, anti-aging medbed, Carrie Kasem, her pain to purpose and what she's doing with the holistic world with her facilities. So check it out, everybody. There's the merch store over there. That's a little bit work in progress. We're adding and deleting 2 things. So yeah, check it out, everybody. And then also, too, if you have a question for me or any of my guests and you want to get in touch, say, with John Baxter, his staff, or you have a question for Rick, whomever it may be, or if it's just myself, email me, therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com. That's how I'm responding to people, because I'm getting too many DMs at the other locations that I just mentioned, and I'm just trying to keep it simple in one area, because that's where I'm gonna focus and be able to get back to you as soon as I can, right? So that again is therevivalofamerica@yahoo.com. And last but certainly not least, everybody, if you have a journey or a story to tell, please give me a little synopsis of your story. Submit it to troasubmissions@yahoo.com. We do vet these stories, guys, because unfortunately, just like anything else, we have shysters out there that just want to give some kind of BS story just so they can get on a show. So if we believe it's legitimate, we'll reach out to you via email, and we will schedule to get your voice, your story onto the show. Because remember, buddy, it's your voice, your story that's going to help shape this new world that we're coming into. With that, everybody, I'm not going to take any more time. You guys shouldn't be already have memorized my little spiel here, but I got to do it, guys. It's only because I care. And these are the things that are really happening out there for those that don't want to listen to the BS. I commend you for that. But I will do it for you. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dallas. Dallas gives us about 90 minutes of his time each time. So hello, my friend.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you? What's going on? You didn't start your job. I mean, I'm glad you're here with us.
Yeah, no, they pulled the plug. I mean, technically the Thursday night, but Friday before I was supposed to start, they sent me an email telling me that they were rescinding my offer. And it's I'm not going to bash
That's
the company.
bullshit.
It was definitely not cool. Primarily because, one, their reasoning was completely flawed and not true, but it just was unprofessional, right? I mean, I spent almost 2 solid months, and I'm not complaining, because truth be told, I never felt like I was supposed to work there. Like I was going to do it because I knew it was going to make my wife happy in the short term, and hey, if whatever. But the last company that I worked for, when I left, they listed me as leaving, taking a leave of absence, because that's what I did. It didn't necessarily start out that way, but ultimately I took a leave of absence to take care of my wife and my daughters, as my wife was going through her second major health scare in a matter of 2 years, which was the breast cancer. And thank you for everybody that's prayed for her. I got a huge praise report for her, but she is as healthy as she's ever been. We are cancer free, all that stuff. So I don't want to paint the wrong picture, but I took a leave of absence, and that's how it's reported in one of the background reports. Because like the background checks that I go through in the financial world, like they're more stringent than if I was getting what's the word, top secret clearance for the FBI. And like that's an actual, I know somebody that worked in the Department of Homeland Security and had not Q clearance, but had level 4 top secret clearance. And when we put them through our background check in the financial world, two things came up that had never come up in any of their other background checks for the government, for the military, for anything else. So the background checks are really, really extensive. But the company, the office that I worked with listed me as, leaving employment due to, leave of absence. Well, the home office of the bigger company that we all worked for, they listed me as terminated with cause or terminated due to cause, which made it sound like I did something wrong, like I broke a rule, or I got fired, like I got sued, or I had a customer complaint. The company that ended up not hiring me did their due diligence and found out that was not true, and I gave them all the documentation, but for whatever reason they just decided that it wasn't a good move. Now, ultimately, this is very much speculation on my part, but the company, I will tell you, is a very conservative or a very liberal company. The CEO is a very outspoken liberal, or liberal, but she's a very outspoken lesbian, LGBTQ. They very heavily promote the pronouns in their emails and crap like that. And I knew all that going in, and it just is what it is, right? I could keep my mouth shut for a little bit, especially if they're going to pay me, right? Because ultimately, I was going there to help customers, not become best friends with everybody I worked with. But I think they looked at my social media and realized that I was fairly outspoken, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want this dirtbag in our thing." So that being said, still looking for a job. I was blessed by one of our listeners. I'm hoping she's listening right now. Today, they gave me sent me a love offering. Those have absolutely they fill my heart up so much. Like, you guys can't even, there's not words for me to explain how much it means to me and my family. But on a much, much brighter note, last Monday, my wife got offered a job that she's really, really been wanting and looking for. And so she starts December 1st. So very, very, very excited. It's not about money, but we've been a zero income household for the better part of about 6 months. She has been working part-time for our neighbors, which has also been a godsend. But this job, they offered her the maximum of the range that they start with, which is really, and it just really was cool, right? God was all over it. My wife is recognizing God's hand in it. So very, very positive things happening. Money is still tight, but that's part of for me, I think it's part of the curve, right? It's part of the learning curve, and it's a part of it's helping me mentally compartmentalize the blessing from where I am right now to where we will be. And it's, and it's really causing me to step back and really reevaluate, okay, when this money comes, what am I really going to do with it? Right. And I've been very upfront and very, very transparent with you guys, but it's even changing that, right? It's not changing my transparency, but I'm going to buy my wife a new car because she just crossed over 184,000 miles this last weekend.
Wow.
And every, which is a testament to I don't know what, because it's not my mechanical prowess, right? But the downside is every light that can come on her dashboard is on all the time. And I can't work on it because that's not my wheelhouse, but I've had my friends work on it. We've replaced probably a dozen sensors and computer pieces and whatever. So my wife needs a new car. I'm going to spend some money on my wife to buy a car. Outside of that, my wife has made it very clear she doesn't want to move. I think eventually we will, but I'm not going to buy a big house. I'm not going to buy a big boat or like my money is going to go to serving and to promoting the message and truth. So I say all that to say, again, thank you for any and everybody that's prayed for me and anybody that has been able and willing to to send love offerings and financial support, because it's been amazing how we need a certain little bit of money for something, and all of a sudden, boom, either it comes from one person or it comes from 2 or 3 people. It's been amazing. So if you've ever contributed or helped me in any way, I appreciate it more than I can even express in words. But I also believe that we're really, really close. And what does that mean? Every time I say it, then in my head, I'm like, well, what's really close, right? But I do know money is moving in the highest levels. And I know I said that 2 weeks ago. There were some delays that took place, like it started, and then there's some delays. There's been a pretty big argument between the United States government, the Israeli government, and the rest of the world. To my knowledge, this week that was rectified, and the world has come to an agreement, including the United States and Israel, and money is moving in the highest levels. Collaborated, backed up by Mark Z yesterday and today. The same things he's hearing and he's talking about are the exact same things from completely different sources that I'm hearing. So ultimately very positive. When does it get to us? That's the part I don't know, because it's taken about 2 months to get to the top, to the highest levels. Is it going to take another 2 months to get down to us? I hope not, because I think once it starts actually physically, literally moving downstream and liquidity starts hitting these different levels, they're not going to be able to turn it off and turn it on like they have been, because it's just going to be too much financial volume, right? Once it starts trickling down one or two more levels, then I think it will get to us fairly quickly. In a perfect world, obviously, I would love to tell you it's going to be here before Christmas. I can't say that with any kind of certainty, but that is my prayer, and that is my hope. And that's kind of where I stand. I think Trump, announced yesterday or the day before that the $2,000, Doge check wasn't going to come until mid-2026. I think that's a ploy. I think it's going to happen before that, because I'm pretty certain, and I've been told that Trump really wants us to have at least some money before the end of the year, because he's been promising that it's a great Christmas for a couple of years, and I think this is the one to do it, because I'll be honest. If we get much further down the road with all this chaos going on within the MAGA party and the government and the Epstein files and all that stuff, he is, when I say he, I mean Trump, he's going to start losing some momentum and some trust, and that would devastate him, because one of the things I do know is that Trump very much wants some of the credit for all of this, if not all of the credit. So I think that's putting a crunch on the timeline, and for us, that's beneficial to us, in my opinion. But very, very exciting times. I think the Epstein list is a big, if it comes out and it's 90% redacted, that will not be good for him and the MAGA party. Not us, but the top tier of MAGA. So hopefully this stuff gets released. It's not redacted heavily, and people start being held accountable. That's really all I want, is just accountability and handcuffs and perp walks.
And just remember, though, too, everybody, the redactions, if they do any on this, it could be because it's a national threat, security threat, right? So you gotta keep that in mind when they are releasing these Epstein files. And for many of us, we've already seen these Epstein files, right, without the redactions. So yeah, I think it's awesome that he's pushing Pam Bondi to do this, but just remember too, she has that ability to redact things that could potentially be a national security issue. All right, so Dallas,
Yeah.
real quickly. So before we get into questions, and everybody, Dallas is here. And I'm assuming he's gonna be back here next in 2 weeks, like as usual. But things could change. You never know. So he is here. I highly encourage you all to raise your hand if you have a question. Please feel free to raise your hand. I will open your mic or write your question on the wall if you can't speak. But he is here. I know many of you reached out to me. You have questions for him. When's he gonna come on? He's here. He's there. So please go ahead and start raising your hands. I will unmute your mic. And Dallas, are we back on to the every 2 week schedule for now?
As of right now, yes.
Okay, so you're not looking at any other job that you're going to be taking.
Oh, I don't have any offers now. So yeah.
Well,
I'm back to applying. So
you got the work of the Lord to do. So there you go. That's the best job that you can have.
amen.
All right, everybody, we're going to go into some questions. I have unmuted some mics here. So, Rakay, is that how you say your name? Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rakay. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. Probably not. Racay. Your mic is unmuted. If you guys request a mic, please be mindful and of Dallas's time and speak, because he gives us 90 minutes of his time, and if you're just sitting there not responding, then it's kind of frustrating. So we're gonna go on to Cal. Cal, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd just like to know, can this revaluation come before Trump announces we go on the gold standard, or does it all have to go at the same time?
Well, a big part of Iraq has been waiting for the United States to step out and show a step of good faith by announcing the gold back standard. There's all kinds of talk about Trump making some big announcements this week and next. I think that Sadani has basically gotten the prime minister bid again for Iraq, which is pretty big. He was in the Kurdistan region earlier this week, Monday or Tuesday this week, which is very important because he's never been there before. Always before, it's been a member of his parliament, right? I mean, it's been basically like a secretary of commerce or something like that. And he was in Kurdistan. I think that the Iranians are coming to the table. I think that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia being at the White House yesterday and the dinner and all that stuff, I think that is setting up for this to go. And I'm hoping that coincides with the announcement. There's different people that say we're already on the gold standard. I tend to call BS on that, because I don't know how you do that with, you can't be promoting literally two different opposite versions of currency. But I'm very much optimistically looking forward to Trump making some announcements. So his speech yesterday, lots of people are saying that, the Council of Peace, I think is what he calls it. Basically it's all the countries in the world in the UN, except for China and Russia, who didn't vote against it. They just abstained from the vote, which is very, very important. So I'm hoping that those kind of things come very soon, because Iraq wants to go, but they've also been very leery of the United States playing some games with the finance and with the currencies and with the reserve currency of the fiat dollar. But on the 22nd, ISO 222 goes into effect and in essence eliminates the SWIFT system, which is the cross-border money transfer system that we've used for decades, and it's replacing it with what's called SIP. I can't remember what SIP stands for, but it's the new cross-border, which I believe is Ripple and XRP and the digital side of this. I know that assets have been tokenized in the World Bank, and they have been valuized. They've been given value. So these historical assets, the golden eagles and things like that, they have been tokenized and they've been given a value, which is one of the big things they've been waiting on. to help this trickle downstream. So, you know, do we have to? I guess not, but I think it'd be really, really confusing for the world and the World Bank if we weren't. So I'm looking for that to come soon.
Did that answer your question, Cal?
Yes, it did. Thank you. I'm just wondering where this all falls in line with the financial scare for people. With so much information, your head's on a swivel. Thanks, though.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Phil Siller, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Phil.
Okay, am I there?
Yes, you
Yep.
are.
So, do you answer the upcoming election executive order and that kind of stuff questions too?
I mean, I can try if I know something about it. I don't
Okay.
always know all the details, but I can try.
Well, I'm just wondering. I'm out here in Arizona, and I actually worked the audit. I worked like 120 hours. I volunteered, and
wow.
yeah, actually, my sister and I, we did where we take batches that were supposed to have 200 in them. That none of them had 200, right? None of them did, and we would do the photo imaging, and we get like all of a sudden we get like 30 in a row, Biden and Kelly, right? And you can see they're all machine marks. So we know it's all a fraud. And I'm wondering when all this comes out, and is Kerry Lake going to be our governor?
I so one, thank you for having such a hands-on part of this, because there weren't a whole lot that did. I mean, there should have been literally tens of thousands, and there was a couple hundred from what I understand. It only makes sense, right? The one thing that I keep hearing a few things. One, Trump is about to make an executive order, in essence mandating all 50 states go to paper ballots, same day voting with IDs, and hand counts, right? Which,
Correct.
if you've ever read any of the statistics about it is not a problem, right? Because there are so many counties. Texas, for instance, has 240 some counties. If you break it down by the county level, 3 people can do an entire count in about 3 hours, right? So, and there are more than 3 people in each county. So it is not unheard of. I believe Italy did their last vote, paper ballots, hand counts, and they had it all done, finalized, and announced within 2 hours of the polls closing. Now, Italy obviously is smaller than the United States, but it just shows you can still, you can still count several 100,000 ballots in a matter of a few hours, right? So I think that there's an executive order coming that's going to mandate that in all 50 states. And I have been told, and I'm still hopeful, that the 2020 election gets exposed on all levels, including the local level, because that is one of the things that we're seeing more and more now is some of these judges and some of these, mid-level politicians at the state level are just as corrupt. They're the ones that are actually, holding up, in a lot of cases, the Epstein files. They're holding up the tariffs. They're, and these are illegitimate judges and elected officials that were placed there, not voted there. So I'm hoping that we have a huge clean slate that swings through with this. And it would make sense to me that Kerry would be the governor, because I have no doubt that she won. And Katie Hobbs, it's also been proven with receipts that Katie Hobbs took a lot of money from the drug cartels in Mexico. So right there, she should be removed from office. But I'm hoping that that's all. It feels to me like it's a perfect storm right now with the Epstein stuff and with the battle between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Massey and Trump. And then, we saw this about a year ago with Trump and Elon. The first time they tried to trick the Democrats into pushing for the release of the Epstein files. And then who was sitting between Trump and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia last night at dinner? It was Elon, So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this is a perfect storm to where all of a sudden this stuff just starts spilling over and spilling out, and the truth comes out and things get rectified is what I'm hoping.
Well, can I ask you one financial question?
Sure.
So, I'm here in Phoenix, but my I lived in Flower Mound. You know where that is for a long time, and my
Yeah.
kids are in Corinth with my grandkids,
Okay.
and oh man, I mean they're just struggling. We're helping support them. She's a teacher. They're not just lazy, but their property taxes are just going through the roof, raising their house payments. They can't afford to live, and so when I hear things like our dollar is like 10 cents of what it used to be, I don't really quite understand what that means. And when I hear them say, well, afterwards, we're going to go to like 1-to-1, I don't know how that impacts young people in their 30s like that who are trying to survive.
Well, we live in Corinth. My children go to Corinth, so I feel you. I mean, our property taxes went up again, $2,000 this year, and and we haven't done anything in our house except live in it. You know what I mean? Like, so the dollar is roughly about 97% of what it was, right? It's worth about 3 cents per dollar, which is why inflation is so out of control, because it takes so many more dollars to equal the same value, right? When we go to the gold back or the asset back standard, $1 is going to be worth $1. It's going to be backed up by the equivalent percentage of gold, via ounces or silver or precious metals or whatever, right? But it's going to be backed up by something tangible and physical, like it was, and that's going to, in essence, eliminate inflation. So, we've heard, 1950s prices, 1970s prices. We're not really going to go back. Your house is not suddenly going to be worth $50,000 when you paid $250,000 or $300,000 for it, right? Like, that's not what it means, but it's going to eliminate that inflated value. Our house has gone up over $150,000 in value in the 8 years we've lived in it. And like I said, we've done nothing to improve it other than it has a new AC unit from where it flooded and collapsed the roof in my office. That is false, right? I mean, that's not a true representation or value, but because our dollar's worth so little, it takes $150,000 more in our deflated currency. So a lot of it is based on giving value back to the dollar or back to the currency, and then eliminating inflation via interest rates and things like that. DeSantis has put up on the ballot in this next vote to eliminate property taxes. I think that's going to sweep across the country because property taxes in themselves are illegal and unconstitutional. Buying a car, if you sell a used car, you got to pay tax, title, and license. Well, it's already been taxed, it's already been titled, and it's already been licensed. So why do I have to do it if it's the third or fourth time that it's been sold? That is usury. That's just pure greed and profit, right? So as we go into this new system, hopefully everything that we've heard and everything that we believe true, and is it all going to play out exactly the way we think? That I can almost guarantee you it is not true, but hopefully that balances our dollar and gives value back to it. So, maybe my house, we bought our house for $230,000. Well, it probably wasn't worth $230,000 when we bought it, but that's what it was in the market. Maybe the value drops to 175, but we're going to get some of that money back in our interest and things like that. I don't know if I technically answered your question, but that's kind of where I mentally stand on it. And I trust me, I'm living that same struggle right now.
Well, I appreciate that. And maybe you're neighbors with my son. Last question. Are you part of this 60,000 man army?
Not that I'm officially aware of, but I'm in. Tell me where to go and I'll do it, because this country is that valuable to me, and I do all of this not for me, it's for my children and their futures. I just want them to have freedom and to not live in a suppressed or oppressed society. Yeah. And I don't want them spied on 24/7, and I want them to have the freedom to choose their future husbands and have their own kids and have their own life. So that's why I'm in this battle. And
we appreciate it.
If need be, I don't have a problem fighting. Kind
Thank you
of
so
good at it.
much. And thank you, Jenny,
Thank-
for hosting this show.
Of course. Thank you, Phil. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Dallas. All right, Dallas, we got a couple questions here on the wall, and then we'll go to a couple hands. And everybody, raise your hand if you have a question for Dallas. He's here for you. Okay, this is from
Okay, I got
Chipper.
a call. Okay.
Hang on a second. Okay, this is from Chipper. It says, "Hi Dallas, do you believe that the Clarity Act has anything to do with when the RV takes place?"
I don't know if it has anything to do with timing, but I do believe it's part of it. The Clarity Act, and then the other one, I just forgot the name of it, but they're tied to the currency side of things, from what I understand, and the digital side of this, as we transition more into a digital economy.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, here's one from Blessed777. Hi, Dallas. Thanks for your time and answering our questions. Thank you, Jenny, for the platform and her time for hosting this. Do you see this wrapping up by the end of the year, or will we continue into next year for it to happen?
Oh man, I wish it
That's a
would.
tough one.
Yeah, I think we're too far gone this year for it to be wrapped up. Would I love to see it initiate? 100%. Is it all going to be done by the end of the year? Absolutely not. I would be very, very pleasantly surprised if the RV, if it got down to the level of the RV for the tier 4, right? I mean, the internet group, if it got down to us by the end of the year, I would be very pleasantly surprised. I do not see that happening. I think that it's probably going to be after the first of the year, but I also think that things are ramping up exponentially fast right now. So when the button gets pushed or the switch gets flipped, I think it will be pretty quick. I just don't know if we can do it in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think we're coming into the bumpy parts of what we've all kind of been anticipating, what that looks like. But remember, everybody, whenever this part of the horror show is done, we've got a lot of work to do on the other side of this. So just hang tight, buckle up, everybody, because I do believe we could be seeing something here in the next coming days, weeks. Who knows? I think when Trump does that executive order regarding the elections. Because remember, 2020 isn't over yet, everybody. And what is 2020 going to do? What does fraud do? We all know it's fraudulent. It vitiates everything. Everything becomes null and void. So hang tight, everybody. Okay, here's one from me. I am hearing news of this popping off with the RV between today and Sunday because of the iOS ending on the 21st. Anything on your end?
Well, I mean, the iOS 222 goes into effect on the 22nd. So the end of the 21st and 22nd. 22nd is Saturday. So Friday and a Saturday. To my knowledge, that is killing the SWIFT system, which is, again, cross-border transfers and really money transfers. I think it could be, tied to this as this money, as it trickles down the system. It's got to, but it's going cross border, right? It's going into the countries and into the governments and into the sovereign families of each country. And so I think it could be tied. I don't think that it's going to be, notifications on Saturday and we're setting appointments on Monday. I just don't see that being realistic. But I do think that we're getting close. I mean, I think that's a huge part of this. I don't think they've been waiting for it. I think it just got to a point where they're like, okay, it'd be better if we waited until after. But I'm pretty optimistic about the end of this week, the rest of this week and next week, for some pretty big announcements and some pretty big changes or movements taking place.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's one from Canyon Girl. Kind of goes into what you were just speaking about. Question, Dallas, have you listened to Zester, Mark Z's son, on recent podcasts educating people like me so I can understand how integral blockchain is to our financial system and finally feel confident? He also shares how blockchain is related to Ripple, Bitcoin, XRP, precious metals, etc. What is your take?
I believe Zester and Mark Z are incredible assets, and I think that they are very in tune with what's taking place, especially on the digital side of things. I can tell you that I've learned recently that all of this money that's going to be coming down in the RV and the GCR, it is all coming through a digitized, tokenized platform or system. So I think they're spot on, and Zester is really, really good at and I'm going to put myself in its own category because we've had him on our shows and has said, hey man, I don't necessarily understand the whole digital side of this. Can you help me explain it? He's done a really good job of helping, kind of crypto for dummies, if you will. So I would continue to listen to him, Mark Z, especially on that side of things.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, man of truth, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Okay, thanks. Just a quick comment on the financial system. The way that helps me understand it, and Dallas Patriot, yeah, compared to when the Federal Reserve first issued their notes in 1913, the dollar is down 97%. But the way when I was a kid in 1964, I was, President JFK supposedly got assassinated, but a silver dollar would trade for one Federal Reserve note. Okay, it was a 1-to-1 ratio. Right now, the spot price, which is it's not made up professionally, it's pretty much out of London, but it's like 51 Federal Reserve notes for one silver dollar. And if you go to usmint.gov, the official price is $91 for 1 ounce of silver. So the way I think of it, there's two different types of dollars: the fake fiat Federal Reserve notes, which used to be 1-to-1 when I was a child, then shot Kennedy, and now it's 51 spot price, which is just something made up. The official price, to get down the bottom line, is $91 an ounce for silver if you go to usmint.gov. It's just the local guys haven't got the thing. So that's how I think of it. You got fake dollars, and we're going to have a real dollar, just like Dallas Patriot was saying, backed by silver and gold and other things. And that we're switching to that right now. But you can watch it in real time because just a little while ago, silver was like 35. So 50, I would watch that spot price, but it'll go to 91 pretty soon, and of course it's going to way beyond that because silver is more rare than gold. So that's how I like to think about it. Jenny, thanks.
Thank you, man.
No,
of
you're
truth.
spot on. I mean, India, there was an article several weeks ago that was actually in the Iraqi Gazette that talked about India, and I think March, I might have the month wrong, but March of 2026, India is going to start recognizing silver as collateral for loans at a ratio of 10-to-1. So 10 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold, which you just spoke to sort of, you didn't reference gold, but that is not the ratio right now, right? I mean, that is a significant increase in value of silver compared to gold. Because right now it's like 400-to-1, right? Because gold is roughly 4,000. Silver is at a little right around 50. So for it to go to 10-to-1, that means that silver's got to increase in value at the current state of gold to $400 an ounce, right? At a minimum, $500 to be honest. So I think you're
totally right
on
on target, Dallas Patriot.
Yeah.
I think the ratio is about 85-to-1 at the moment, and it'll eventually be at parity. 1 ounce. In fact, silver will be worth more than gold if you really got down to the super duper bottom line. So silver and the best stuff with it is now is junk. Well, it's true too, Dallas Patriot.
Yeah.
So just people they haven't gotten the memo, but silver is more rare than gold. But that 10-to-1 thing you just said, by the way, as far as statistically, last month India bought a massive shitload of tons and tons and tons of silver just last month.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, man of truth. All right, Lacey, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Your spelling test.
Hey there. Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. As usual, I'm late getting on this afternoon. So Dallas, I'm excited to hear you on and your usual time. I hope everything's okay with your new job. Jenny, you kind of stole my question a little bit earlier. I was going to ask about the significance of the ISO 20022 that's going into effect and how that was going to impact the RV. So since Dallas, you've already answered that.
Hang on a second real quick, Lacey. Hey, Dallas, can you mute your mic? We're getting background noise, sweetie. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
My daughter.
You're good. Go ahead, Lacey.
So since you've kind of already addressed that question, I just was kind of curious about something you said earlier about you said you were hoping to see things initiated by the year end, and yet there's several gurus out there that are saying that it has been initiated, that there's whales already receiving their money. Is that just a bunch of fluff, or is there any validity to that?
um, I don't want to disparage anybody out there that's trying to keep people positive and give people hope, but unfortunately that's just not true. To my knowledge, nobody has actual liquidity. There's lots of talk of today and tomorrow, possibly seeing actual physical liquidity. The money has moved at those top levels, but it's still not liquid. I am waiting on confirmation today or tomorrow of that actual liquidity step, which is why, again, I try really hard not to bash anybody else, but we're not going to get notifications today or tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday or Monday. Like that is impossible based on how slow this is moving. But I would love, and this is my hope and my prayer, is that we could see some legitimate movement come, closer to the end of the year. But I could also be very pleasantly surprised, right? But I'd rather set the tone from a realistic, honest standpoint, as opposed to just saying something because I know it's going to make people happy and maybe get a couple more clicks or likes or whatever. But in my humble opinion, there's absolutely no way we get notifications probably by the end of this month, right? I mean, I think December is a very slim possibility, but it really depends on what happens the next probably 5 to 10 days at the highest tiers, and to see how quickly it starts moving downstream.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the honest perspective. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank
Jenny,
you, Lacey.
I'm gonna jump out of my car. I'm probably have to reset my mic, but I'll be back on as soon as I can. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dallas. All right, Vicky Sharp, when he comes back, you are up next, my friend. And everybody here, if you have a question for Dallas, feel free to request a mic. I will unmute your mic. And while we're waiting for Dallas, or if you can't speak, write your question in the comment box, everybody. He is here. I know many of you have questions. This is what we're here for, okay? Also, too, everybody, SGN is going to be right after Dallas here on Telegram at 5:45 Eastern Standard Time. And so we've got like a 15-minute break in between. So yeah, that will be happening with SG and then over on my X page, we're gonna have some fun with Silk. Good old Silk. She's always a good laugh. So if you haven't checked her out on my show, everybody, you should do it. She's a hoot. She's a good time. And then next week too, everybody, I'm gonna have some shows, but it's probably not gonna be 8 or 9 like it's been this week. It's gonna be probably maybe 6. All right, so go ahead, Vicky Sharp. Dallas is back in the house. Go ahead and ask Dallas your question.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Dallas, have you heard that the 22nd, which is Saturday, I think, that the banks have to be compliant, and if not, they'll have to close? Is that?
I haven't necessarily heard about the banks, but that is when the SWIFT system ends and the new SIP system starts. So, man, they've been so liberal with the banks. It's about time that they make a hard stand, but I've not necessarily heard the banks in reference to this weekend, but hopefully it's what kind of lights the fire, because the old SWIFT cross-border system is going to be forced to go away.
Okay. I had heard that the Bank of America was having trouble. They didn't have
Well,
enough.
they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars a day with the silver shorts. So
Yeah.
if any bank crashes in the United States, I think it's going to be Bank of America, because they have the largest standing in silver, which is how they've suppressed it for all these years. But I also know that there are entities and institutions that either have already inked deals to buy these banks as they fail, or to reinstate them under new management and new controls. So if you bank with Bank of America, will you lose access to your money for a short period of time? Possibly. I don't think so, but possibly for a couple of days to maybe a week. But there are entities that are ready to buy up these banks. Bank of America is one of the largest banks in America,
Yeah.
pun intended. So they're going to keep it functioning, but it could affect them.
Yeah, there was two other big ones. I can't remember the names, and they mentioned them too, but probably I don't know which ones it was. But I remembered the name Bank of America because I know some people that have a good amount of money in there, and they haven't taken it out, and so they'll be probably having some shock because most people that I know, they still are very unaware of what's really gonna,
Well,
you
but
know,
that's part of this awakening, right? I mean, I've
right,
said for years that if you really want to get the people's attention, close the bank.
financial, yeah,
You know, um, take their money away, and they're gonna wake up real fast, and they're gonna realize how corrupt the whole system is. But the only one that I've heard specifically is Bank of America. But I also am pretty confident that there are backup measures in place to protect our money and to protect our life, our way of life. Because I mean, you want to see a civil war pop off, close the banks and don't reopen them. So.
Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Vicky. All right. Dallas, maybe you want to touch on something else while we wait for some of these hands to pop up. And honestly, guys, Dallas is here. Ask your questions. I'm kind of shocked that there's not more hands up here and then more questions in the comment box. So go ahead, Dallas, if you want to touch on anything.
Well, I just, again, I said in the beginning, I appreciate y'all's support so much. My wrestling ministry, Ephesians Pro Wrestling, is really, really taken off. We have a big deal tomorrow. We're going to go buy. We're doing a Toys for Tots thing. We're sponsored by Toys for Tots, which is pretty unique. They don't give the right to use their logos and stuff out very. They're not very willy nilly with it. And we're broadcasting it on our show every Saturday night at 5 p.m. Central. 6 Eastern on Abundant TV. It's an app you can download on your phone. You can download it on any smart TV. It's Abundant TV. It's a Christian streaming service, but we're averaging over 70,000 initial views each week. We're the highest ranked program on their entire platform, and it's a global platform. So we're getting people watching from the Philippines, Thailand, all over Europe, all over the United States, obviously. But you can go to EphesiansProWrestling.org, all spelled out, Ephesians like the book of the Bible, Ephesians, EphesiansProWrestling.org. You can check it out. We're still building the website, so it's a little bit rudimentary, but you can get on there. If you would like to support us, you can do that. There's a giving, dial on there. We use a company called Zephy. It's a nonprofit Christian organization. If you do donate, there's a box at the very bottom that says, donate 3% to Zephy. You can change that to 0. They don't charge us a fee, and they don't technically charge you a fee to transfer money or to send money that way. If you want to, you can donate to them, but they don't need it or really promote it. Just a function on there, but you can change it to 0. We are a 501. We're a nonprofit, so you can, feel good about where the money's going. And don't get me started on nonprofits, but the guy that ran it before was not very forthcoming financially, and it was not a nonprofit, but he presented it as one. So, which is why we went that way, because we wanted people to to know that we were being honest and transparent with the money that people were giving. So, but
Thank
we
you,
have
Dallas.
a big deal. We have a show on the 29th, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. That's all about Toys for Tots, and it's going to be awesome. And then our last big show is on December 6th. So if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, come to the show live. But it'll be on Abundant TV. I think the last Saturday in December, and then the first Saturday in January will be the 2 episodes. But yeah, things are going really well.
Also too, thank you, Dallas. Also too, can you maybe touch a little bit? I'm surprised that there's not hands for you. This is kind of crazy, but touch a little bit more on if you know anything more, if anything's changed about the rates for the currencies, and then Man of Truth just messaged me. If you could touch a little bit more on the, would you say gold? Where did he go? Touch a little bit more on the gold because obviously it's pretty massive. The gold is as well.
Yeah. What was the first question?
It was
Oh, about
if the
rates.
rates are if they're still the same, if they change or anything on the currency.
I have not heard any changes. I mean, I still think that in R it's going to be somewhere a range of 4 to 8. Could it be more? Sure, but it's not going to be 100. It's not going to be the price of oil. Like that's not factual. It's going to be probably 4 to 8. It could be as much as maybe 20. But I think Dong is going to be somewhere between 2 and 4. The Zim, that's the wild card right now because we've heard forever 11 million to 50 million. But I've also heard, and I've been told, I take this one with a grain of salt until I see it, but it could be a couple 100,000 per 100 T notes, which is still a huge return, right? But I do know Mark talked about it yesterday evening, I believe, on his podcast, that the Zim and the agros were introduced into this whole process by the Chinese elders to get people thinking more about humanitarian projects and just being more humanitarian in general. So they are definitely valuable. We're not going to really know until we get in there and really kind of flush it out. But I think 4 to 8 is reasonable on the dinar and 2 to 4 on the dong. They could both be a little bit higher, but they're not going to be hundreds. It's going to be in the single to double digits, low double digits for the dinar specifically.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, for Man of Truth, back we're going to go to silver now. He says silver obviously is massively important at this moment in history. Please have him talk a bit more about that. Silver will go up 100 times in Federal Reserve notes. Best investment on earth. Dallas gets it.
What I can do is tell you to stay away from U.S. Stable coins, at least in the beginning, because I'm still waiting to hear that it didn't get approved. But one of the things that Trump and the administration was trying to do was digitize our federal debt, the $37 trillion that we're in debt. They wanted to digitize it or tokenize it and then sell it back to us, kind of like U.S. treasuries, and get us, the people, to pay off our debt. But it's not our debt, right? I mean, it's the government's debt. So my advice, and I'm not a crypto expert, but my advice in the interim or the short term is to stay away from any U.S. stable coins until I can verify that they have not tokenized our debt and are going to try to sell it back to us to get out of their own hole. But yeah, gold and silver, I think, realistically, and I actually heard this from several other people this week, they could both easily go to 5 to 10,000. And at some point, silver is going to outpace gold because silver is a finite resource. We put it in everything, especially electrical, right? I mean, anything that has a computer chip in it, which is everything, has silver in it. And once you use silver in that mode or that method, it really kind of destroys the molecular structure of it, and it's really not valid. It's not valuable anymore. Gold is not a conductive metal, right? So gold is just gold. Silver is conductive, so they use it in a lot of things. There's way more gold still in the ground than we've ever dreamed of, processing and mining and circulating in the world. So I think silver at some point will outpace gold, but when we go asset back, they should peg at a relatively similar rate, I would think. Because right now, if you look at the United States, they still value an ounce of gold at $41 an ounce, which is what it was when they took us off the gold standard. Well, gold is trading at over 4,000 an ounce right now. So just from that perspective, we're so off base when it comes to our government and the value of our, supposed value of our money, which we all know it's not backed up by gold and silver right now. But there's going to be huge jumps when it comes to gold and silver. I'm not giving financial advice, but when I come into some money, I buy silver. Problem is I haven't had any extra money in the last, year or so. But if I suddenly came into some money, I would buy as much silver as I could.
Amen. Thank you, Dallas. All right, Tennessee Trash, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing better, I think. I was just wondering if you thought that the Venezuela currency may be coming back into play, since it seems like we're doing some work over there to make things better for us and for them. Have you heard anything on that, Dallas?
Well, I've always believed that it was going to be in the first basket, but I do think that current geopolitical things are rapidly bringing that into more of a guarantee. And I fully expect the Venezuelan Boulevard to be, I've said it from the very beginning. I was one of the first, and I don't say that to take credit. It happened by accident, but one of the first to bring it up and talk about it. I think it's going to be a very valuable currency, even if it just goes at 30 or 40 cents, which is what people are talking about. That's still a huge value gain for us because it's so stinking cheap. But I think it's going to be more than 30 or 40 cents. I think it's going to be a couple bucks at a minimum. But I definitely think that some of the stuff we're seeing right now is changing, kind of getting the bad apples out of that cart to save the rest of it.
Yes. Also, I'd heard a study that said that most of the homes that had purchased silver were right around in the 100 ounce department. That because of the expense and the trouble of getting silver as far as financially, that 100 ounces, it's not really a lot, but it can be a lot if it increases to 1,000 or so. But have you heard anything on studies of what normal amounts households have?
No, I can't say that I can speak to that, but I mean, again, it's an exponential growth, right? So if you have 100 ounces right now, that's what, $5,000 worth of silver, and it goes to 1,000. Well, now that's 50,000, right, or 500,000. So it'd be 50,000. Sorry, that's a pretty significant uptick, right? It's kind of like XRP. I've heard several experts say if you have 1,000 XRP, when it hits, you're going to be fine, right? So I think anything that you can have. What people don't realize is that silver, again, we use it in so many things, right? If you have grandma and grandpa's old antique silver set, dining set, I mean, that's a lot of ounces of silver right there, right? Now, I wouldn't recommend going and melting it down, but there's people have silver. I have silver coins. My grandfather collected silver dollars, and I don't have a gajillion of them, but I have a pretty good handful. And I've given some to my girls, and I'm like, whatever you do, do not spend these. Like, hold on to these. So, silver coins, silver dollars, antique silver that's real silver. People are going to have a little bit more money than they think they do when that comes around. So I agree with you. If you can get some, I would get some.
Yeah, even if the RV came through, if you were still able to buy, it would be a good investment.
100%. Go to the pawn shops and buy the real antique, like pure silver, and they're going to be worth a lot.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Jenny, and Dallas. Love y'all. We're praying for you. You have a great day.
Thank you, Tennessee Trash. That name cracks me up every time I see it. All right, here's a couple here on the wall for you, Dallas, from Doug. Thanks, Dallas and Jenny, for your information. Question: is a 1 million Bolivar the same value as a 1 million sombrero? 100 million, excuse me. So is a 1 million Boulevard the same value as a 100 million sombrero?
No, the 1 million are the Sabaneros, and the 100 million are the Digitalis. So they will be redeemed at the Digitalis will be at a not a higher rate, but you'll get way more for it. But they're not interchangeable. One is a million and one is 100 million.
Shit, did I just bastardize that? How did you? This says Sabare and whatever. What is it called?
So the ones that have 1 million on it, it says 1 million Sabanero.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
is like the 2018, 2019. In 2020, they went to the Digitalis, and that's when they went into the hundreds. So 100 million, that's the Digitali. Those are two different variations of the currency.
Okay, got it. Thank you. See, this isn't my wheelhouse, everybody. Like, if this happens, great, cherry on top. If not, I gotta go to work tomorrow. All right, here's another one. Go north to Dakota. Question: do we need to have some Zim if we want to do a humanitarian project? Do Zim holders get early access to medbeds than non-Zim holders?
Again, this is very much my opinion, right? I do not believe that when we go to redemption, if you have a Zim, you get to jump to the front of the line. I think that's kind of it's impractical and it's kind of silly, right? Medbeds are going to be released for everyone at the same time. If you have life-threatening illnesses and diseases or cripplings, then yeah, you're going to be bumped to the front. I don't think that just because I have a Zim that puts me in front of anybody else. You do not have to have Zims to take part in humanitarian projects. And the reason I say that is because there are numerous groups that have been aggregating currencies for years, decades in some cases, that are going to have extensive amounts of, what I would call buckets of money. And we'll be able to, if you don't have a Zim, but you have an idea for a humanitarian project, you'll be able to submit your humanitarian project to those groups. That will be regulated in some form or fashion, right? I can't exactly spell it out, but and if you get approved, then there's going to be extra money, right? Will we get some at the Redemption Center I believe so, especially if you have Zims, because that's again what they were introduced for, was to kind of shift the mindset from a pure profit mindset to, hey, if I get this money, what can I do to help the world? But you do not have to have Zim to take part in humanitarian projects. We just have to wait for that system to flush itself out. And part of it is going to be governmental, right? I mean, there's going to be a bucket of money in the government that is there to help, start up businesses and start up humanitarian efforts and things like that. But there are also going to be dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of private groups that are going to be mandated to do the same thing, right? Because the thing on the humanitarian side and some of these larger aggregatorials is that they are going to be obligated and forced to earmark a large percentage of their proceeds to humanitarian efforts. So that money can only be used for humanitarian tasks and goals and projects, but they don't have enough people in them to use all the money. So that money is then going to be open up to the general public for people to do those kind of things, is the way
Thank you,
I
Dallas.
understand it.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, Miss Lisa, you're back. Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Lacey.
Are you talking about me? No, I didn't raise my hand again. I just, I left the meeting momentarily and I came back and I noticed that you still had me unmuted, but I didn't raise my hand a second time.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry for the
do you have a
confusion.
question for Dallas?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Thanks.
grandmother of 5, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, grandmother of 5, your mic is unmuted. Okay, here's one from D Mom Dallas. Hi, Dallas. I missed the beginning, so I will listen to the replay. Just wanted to wish you well with your new job. Hopefully you won't need it much longer and will be much more comfortable. Best wishes and thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. That was just a comment. Okay, here's another one from North. Go north to Dakota. If you had 100 right now to spend, what would you buy? Thank you.
If I had $100, Um,
Yes.
I'd probably buy a million dong, and then whatever I had left, I'd buy Boulevard, because because dinar. I mean, $100 is going to get you a couple thousand dinar. I mean, it's what's crazy is that like that's what doesn't make sense in this world, right? Is Vietnam has a tradable currency that is basically 25,000 to one, right? So you can get a million dinar for about, or I'm sorry, a million dong for about $60, right? If you go through Wise, you can get it for like 35. I would be a little bit cautious of putting all your money on Wise, because there's some stuff in the Wise bylaws that don't sound very favorable to the RV if you've read them. But you can go to Chase Bank and buy a million dong for about $60. The Boulevard again is still really cheap. What doesn't make sense in the world is that in order to buy a million dong or dinar, it's about $1,300 to $1,500. But if you traded it in, you'd get like $5 back. You know what I mean? Like the dinar is worth nothing, but it costs so much to buy it, which is kind of weird, right? But that's why I also believe that it's going to revalue, because they know that's why it's more expensive. But I would buy dong because it's the cheapest. Maybe you could look at rupiah and things like that, but you can get a couple of bills, but they are bigger bills. But you just have to kind of look at it. But I would go dong and Boulevard would be my two choices, just because of price point.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's one from Christy. Does Dallas think that there will be med beds for pets as well as people? Will the vets, as we know them, go by the wayside?
I don't think they'll go by the wayside. I think they'll just transition a lot like the medical field will in the world. I do believe that there's med beds for pets. Um, I I have a slightly different take on that than most, right? I mean, I love my dogs, right? I mean, I would. There's only 2 or 3 reasons that I would physically jump into a fight, right? You threaten my wife, you threaten my children, or you threaten my dogs. I'd fight, or my friends, right? I guess maybe there's 4, right? Um, but I'm also not one that is going to put animals before human beings in the beginning, right? And I think that lots and lots and lots of people want to do things for animals, but if you save all the animals in your county, but yet there's still women and children living on the streets, starving to death and dying of malnutrition and exposure, then did you really do the most humanitarian thing, right? And I don't want to make anybody mad, so please don't misinterpret what I'm saying, because I love my animals, right? And I would defend them with my life if need be, but I am not going to put animals before people. I'm going to fix the people problems first, and then I'm going to focus on the animals. But I do believe that there'll be med beds for animals as well.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's another one. It says, from Taboo Truth, what is the best way to purchase U.S. Treasury notes or bond?
Through a broker, or go to US Treasury.gov, I think, is you can buy Treasury bonds. I particularly wouldn't, but but if you wanted to, I think you go through the Treasury to get U.S. Treasuries.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, Miss Grandmother 5, your mic is unmuted again. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had trouble getting it to come on a while ago.
Oh, you're good.
Thank you both for what you do. Dallas, hate you didn't get your job, but I'm happy for you too. All in one.
It was bittersweet, right?
That's kind of the feeling I was getting.
Yeah, I was like, praise God. And then I was like, how do I tell my wife? But my wife just got mad at them, so it was good.
I won't tell her.
Oh, she knows.
What I wanted to ask you is, of course, I keep hearing, Jacera, and Jacera has to go before the RV goes because of the taxes on the money, this, that, and the other. Well, if they're going to refund us our tax money, I mean, why couldn't they just refund it, with that?
Yeah,
If
I don't think it's one or the other. I don't think one has to go before the other or vice versa. I think it's all tied together. Is my honest opinion. Because
okay,
I agree with you, right? Like I I hate doing double work, right? Like that's why I hate paperwork. Because if I did the deal and I closed the transaction, whatever it is, right? Um, then my job is done. But then I got to sit and I got to fill out all this paperwork, and it's all triple duplicate. Like I hate that part of life. I don't like doing double work. My wife, for instance, you brought my wife up. Uh, I lived on my own for 15 years. I've been doing my laundry since I was in high school. I emancipated myself when I was 16 years old from my mother, not because I didn't like my mother, but because my mom made like $1,000 too much for me to get grants and financial aid for college through the government. So I emancipated myself and I moved out. I lived in an apartment my junior and senior year in high school so that I could file my own taxes so that I could get more benefit and more help going to college, because my mom made $35,000. There's no way she was going to be able to pay for college. And I didn't want to take gobs and gobs and gobs of loans, right? So I've lived on my own. So I'm just telling the story to explain that point. My wife, I'm perfectly capable to do the laundry in my household, and I'm pretty efficient at it. Like I can get it all done in about 3 hours, right? My wife will work on it all day, but my wife is very particular on what goes with what and how things get folded and so on and so forth. So there's been times where I've done the laundry and my wife comes home. She doesn't rewash the clothes, but she'll take everything I did, undo it, and then redo it in her own way, or packing a suitcase, right? That's probably a better example. I can pack a suitcase. Is it going to be neat and perfect and everything is going to be folded? And no, it's going to be, all right, I need 4 pair of underwear, 4 pair of underwear. I need 4 pairs of socks, 4 pairs of socks. I need 5 shirts. Okay, here's 5 shirts. I'm going to try to keep them folded, but I'm not really going to worry about it, right? My wife will come home, completely unpack the suitcase and repack it. And that drives me crazy. So I just don't do it because I know what's going to happen. And I tell that story to say, I just don't like double work, right? So in this world, in this example that we're talking about, why would they do something that they know they're going to have to undo to then rebate, right? Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Now, our government is known for redundancies and wasting time and wasting energy and wasting money. So it wouldn't surprise me. But if we're going to a new system, why would you not just roll out the new system, then roll out the blessing so that we don't have to double work it? Does that make sense?
yep, I understand completely. Oh, and another thing, one of the people who I follow on the silver deal, as I had told you before that I think that they had said they figured it was going to go up to 10 to 15,000.
Yep.
Well, today I was hearing them and they were saying they felt like it may even get as high as 25,000 an ounce.
One of the primary groups that I'm a part of from the highest levels of the world financial systems said those exact numbers 2 weeks ago. So I think silver absolutely could go to $25,000 an ounce. Will gold go that high? I don't know, right? Because again, there's way more gold than there is silver, but I could absolutely see silver at some point in the future getting to $20,000 or $25,000 an ounce. Gold, I think gold's going to tap out at 15 to 20, possibly. But again, there's so much gold still in the ground that we haven't even tapped. That's part of Venezuela, right? They have found the largest in-ground oil reserves in the world in Venezuela. They've also found the largest gold reserves in ground in Venezuela, along with rare earth metals, right? Or minerals. So Venezuela is an incredibly rich country. And that's part of the conflict right now, right? Is because right now it's ruled by a dictator, a military dictator of all things. So they've got to free the people so that then they can revalue the country, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, our silver has taken this, $3-4 dip. How soon or how fast do you think, once the RV and everything goes through, how fast do you think the silver will actually shoot up?
I think that there'll be an instantaneous jump to a couple of $1,000s an ounce. and then I think it will float up from there based
Okay.
on the lack of supply. But I think
Okay.
it will take an immediate jump once this happens.
Okay. All right. That's all I got. Thank y'all both for your work.
Yeah. Hey, Jenny,
Thank
I
you.
was going to say, I mean, unless there's other questions, but there's lots of people that have never talked, and like, there's not a dumb question. I mean, some people, this might be the first or second or third time you've heard any of this. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask it. I'm not that guy that gets like, oh, I already answered that, right? I almost never do that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I literally just answered that. But if you've never talked, man, I encourage you to raise your hand and just, and it doesn't even have to be about money, right? If you want to know something personal about me or my ministries or whatever, right? Man, it's fun to talk.
Yeah, it's about your voices too, everybody. So we do had a hand. I unmuted Mike. So go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi, Jenny in Dallas.
Hello.
I appreciate what you're doing, taking the time to help us. I have a question about Thanksgiving. I have family coming here and I have heard things are going to happen before Thanksgiving. I don't think they will because I just don't think they want to disrupt us all. What's your opinion?
It kind of depends on your definition of things, right? But I do not think we're going to get notifications and things like that. I did read a really interesting expose on Schumer, that Schumer was trying to lobby to keep the government shut down through Thanksgiving because he wanted to ruin everybody's travel plans. I 100% think that is a legitimate thing, right? Because Schumer is a piece of garbage, and he believed that the shutdown was benefiting the Democrats every day it went longer, which it wasn't, right? It wasn't really benefiting the Republicans either, but it surely wasn't benefiting the Democrats. But I think the government's open. People are going to be able to travel. Could we get some movement? Absolutely. But I don't think we're going to get notifications and be scheduling our redemption appointments on Thanksgiving. I think it's going to be the end of the month at best. Hopefully in December, but if nothing else, coming right out of the new year. But I hope in the interim, some of these things that Trump has talked about, the Doge rebate, the tariff rebates. The thing about the tariff rebates is if the Supreme Court rules against him on these tariffs, well, then all the money that we've taken in for the tariffs, which Trump is going to give back to us, part of it, well, Trump now has to give that all back to the other countries. So that's going to tell us how corrupt the Supreme Court is, in my opinion, if they vote against these tariffs. I don't think they will, but if they do, that's a big red flag. And that means that we need to do some hardcore cleaning real fast. But I would not worry about Thanksgiving. I would enjoy your time with your family. And just spend that time in reflection and Thanksgiving, which is why it's called that. And really, what are you going to do on the other side of this? And that's where I am right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking more, not the RV, more of the disclosures. They're saying, the 3 days of whatever, darkness, that kind of stuff. And I just don't feel like it's ready to come out. I just not feeling it.
I'm with you. I mean, the only reason that I would see any validity in that is that you would have everybody kind of collected together, right? Now,
Yeah.
is that going to start some fights? Probably, because you're going to have the one person that's like, see, I told you. And then you're going to have the other, uncle that's like, oh, you're, whatever. But I don't know. I don't particularly think I'm in alignment with you. I don't think it's going to happen over Thanksgiving. But if it did, I could see why they might do that. But I just don't see that being a very valid option.
Okay. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, Kelly, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kelly Heatwell. Your mic is unmuted.
He-Wolf. Let's go, Kelly.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, gosh, this is the first time I've ever spoke on a little chat. So thanks for taking my question. I was just curious. I heard someone say that you had to be part of a group in order to get an email to go for an appointment at a redemption center, and I'm confused about that.
I don't subscribe to that. I think that's just clickbait, trying to get you to sign up for their email list or join their group, which typically costs money. You can join some free email groups like Dinar Chronicles, Dinar Recaps. I'm not a big proponent of Bruce's Big Call, his information, because most of it is not true. But Bruce's Big Call, that's another agricultural email group. But if you follow Mark Z, if you follow Jenny and myself here, if you follow PPN or follow me on the Hero Network on Rumble, you're going to find out about it one way or the other. So you don't have to join, and the other groups, like Love One Society and things like that, like they just want you to donate your currency to them. And if you have an SKR from Love One Society, read your SKR, because at the bottom of it, it says donated, which means you donated your currency to them. And they gave you a receipt and called it an SKR.
Well, so then how would you know that you to go to a redemption center if they don't contact you for an appointment?
Because whatever that contact information is going to be disseminated widely through these programs. Though all the programs I just mentioned, we're all going to talk about it. We're going to share it, because they're not going to be individual numbers. It's going to be either a website or a call center. If they give an 800 number, we're going to call a call center. There's 6 of them in the United States, from what I understand. And they'll verify your identity, right? The same way a bank would if you called and opened up an account, either on the phone or digitally. And then they're going to say, what's your zip code? And they're going to say, okay, we got 3 redemption centers, within 20 miles. How far do you want to go? But you'll be able to find that information through these programs. Jenny, myself, so on and so forth.
Oh, well, that makes me feel so much more peaceful. But I appreciate you guys, and you do an amazing job, and I will be definitely tuned in to listen. So I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking. Once you kind of get over the initial I don't want to sound weird. It's kind of fun to interact in these things, especially Jenny is so accommodating. She's so professional. She's so courteous. If you're going to do it, I would do it on these platforms.
Yep, I totally agree. And I don't care to listen to my own voice because I know it's a bit twangy. So
I like it.
Well, thank you so much. Well, you guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for coming up.
Uh-huh.
All right, Dallas, I have one more question, and it's a couple people on here have asked it about XRP. What is going on with XRP? The price is going down so low, it should be much higher. But real quickly, everybody, when this XRP is going down, this is the time to buy it, right? Because it will go up at some point. So what are your thoughts on that, Dallas?
I not to steal a phrase from Trump, but I think it's the calm before the storm, right? This dip is allowing people to get in at a somewhat reasonable price, even though, if XRP goes to $10,000 a token and you get it at 100 or 200, that's still a pretty good, you're still getting in on the ground floor. I personally, it's tied to everything, specifically at ISO 222. So I think this is the dip to allow people to get in, even if it's just a little bit, to help them. I think this is being done on purpose, because those that know that XRP is going to be the backbone of our new cross-border transfer system. So I think it's to buy the dip.
Thank you, SG. And I'm going to take OC. Okay, I got a hard stop here, everybody, at 3:30 because I've got SG coming on at 3:45 my time, 5:45 Eastern time. So I've got 2 more questions. So if you guys can make it quick, Renee, go ahead, and then Archer, you can go after Renee. Go ahead, Renee. Renee, do you have a question for Dallas? Go ahead. All right, go ahead, Archer. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Archer.
Hey Dallas, hey Jenny, thank you for calling on me.
Hello.
Thank you for having this. Dallas, I have basically, come to the conclusion there's like 2 schools of thought with these RV appointments. And I've been asked this question a lot, one group says no, they're not gonna have RV centers and you're going to go to the bank and do everything there. But, they'll have a special place for you to do the bonds. And then there's a school of thought like, no, they're separate centers, they're separate from banks, yada, yada, yada. And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, part of it is from personal experience, right? And I've had conversations with people that claim to have been in redemption centers, help set them up, help build the security measures for the redemption centers, which is where most of my information comes from, is those conversations. Now, have I ever been in one? No. But you know who has been in one? Mark Z. Mark Z has been in a redemption center. They've used his currency to test the De La Rue machines and things like that. I believe 100% that there are going to be redemption centers. Some of them may be in banks, but not all of them. Some of them are more than likely going to be standalone institutions. But I believe wholeheartedly in the redemption centers. If you go to the bank, you're going to get the street rate. So when they pull up Forex, whatever it says on Forex, that's what you're getting. The redemption centers, from my understanding, from what I've been told directly, are specifically trained to, one, verify these foreign currencies and then issue the redemption rate, right? Which, should be if nothing else, a few dollars higher, specifically on the dinar, than the bank. But, you can go to a bank and redeem it. You're just going to get the flat rate, right? Kind of if you went to that country and you redeemed it in country, you're going to get whatever the Forex says, right?
Right.
But I believe, and again, it comes from conversations. Have I ever been in one? No, but I know somebody who has. Like I've listened to the stories face to face from Mark
Good to
Z.
know.
So that's my stance on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Archer. And everybody, Dallas is with me every other Wednesday. And as you heard here, he's going to be continuing on with us. So let's cross our fingers, everybody, that something happens. If not, we still got to get him to go to work tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But hang in there, everybody. Come back with us on 15 minutes for SG and on. And then after that, we'll cruise on over to X for my X-Base podcast with Silk from the Diamond and Silk Show. So, Dallas, thank you so much. God bless you. God bless your wife. Congratulations. And I will talk to you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
All right, sweetie. Have a great night. Enjoy your children. And we'll talk soon. Good night, everybody.